Hey everybody, today's topic is one that mixes tech, public policy and civil liberties, this new push to roll out digital ID for everyone. Starting, now we hear, with a digital veteran card and what it looks like when the state effectively bribes, or at least incentivises, people to adopt these systems to get the services that they are already owed by right. I want to walk you through what exactly is happening, why it matters and what to watch for as this starts to spread, as it inevitably will, into other areas of our lives. So firstly, to summarise quickly, in other words the short version, Keir Starmer has already announced his plans to launch a digital ID, and now he's going to launch a digital ID version of the veteran card as part of this bigger plan to digitalise identity, passports, driving licences, benefits. The government is pitching the veteran card as convenient. It's always convenience they use because they know it resonates. It's a quick proof of service on your phone, easier to access veteran support, discounts, you know, that kind of thing. That's been publicly announced by the government today. But this rollout didn't happen in a vacuum, guys. You know, from civil liberties groups, some MPs, some journalists, people are worried that veterans are being used as a case study to normalise digital ID for the rest of us. And just as we thought it, government spokespeople popped out on the airwaves this morning and they've said as much. They've said if this works, it will be a trial for digital ID. Start with something that everybody will support, like a card to help ex-service personnel, and then scale it up to everybody else just a bit later. Do they think we're silly? And they do. So let me break this down. This is coercion, bribery of our veterans. We saw it in COVID. Show your jab passport or you can't enter a nightclub, you can't fly to Spain, you can't go to work. So now they're trying it with digital ID. The policy tactic of making a digital ID suddenly very attractive by tying it to benefits, discounts or easier access to services that people already deserve, especially groups that we agree should get help, like our veterans who are woefully dismissed in this country. This is covert, coercion or bribery, and it looks like this. You launch an appealing digital credential. You make service access for a vulnerable group faster, cheaper, simpler if they use that credential. You call participation voluntary, but gradually you move on because the convenience and discounts grab people in. When the only practical fast route eventually to your rights becomes digital, the effect is exactly the same as coercion. People feel forced to adopt the system or be left behind. So why start with veterans? This is no mistake, guys. It's strategic. Think about it. Veterans are a sympathetic, visible group. Politically, few of us would argue against giving them better, faster, priority access to services. So rolling out a veteran card is politically palatable and gets broad public support. They're often denied easy access to what is rightfully theirs. I see it in GP. But using their goodwill as a pilot for nationwide identity infrastructure has two problems. Normalisation. Once people are used to storing identity on phones for veterans, it's then easier to expand the same tech to welfare, health, employment checks. It is the archetypal slippery slope. And then equity. Many veterans are older, poorer, live in parts of the country still with poor digital access. If fast access becomes digital only in practice, you will create second-class citizens of our veterans. That tension, legitimate help versus subtle pressure to adopt a centralised system, is exactly what opponents are warning about. And let's not forget where it will ultimately lead. Starmer said it last week in India. You will be able to, replace that with need to, control your own money. And then the government will use it to cut off your access to your own money. Access to flying, working, education. It's terrifying, guys. And remember, they are not silly. They look it, but they're not. They know how to start slow and then start running. Coercion isn't always a loud top-down order. It's cumulative. Step 1, a voluntary app or credential is introduced, but it has benefits. Step 2, third parties like charities, businesses, service providers adopt it because it's easier to verify someone's credentials. Step 3, employers, banks, health systems start asking for the credential as the quickest route to service. Step 4, if there's a cost, a friction or wait time to use the non-digital route, the voluntary option becomes the default option. So what looked optional to start with becomes functionally mandatory. That's the slow creep that I've warned you about, and it's exactly why there are petitions, large public debates, MPs under siege about this. You know, I'm really not interested in the advantages. We have coped very well for hundreds of years, and I am not prepared to be enticed onto the China-esque style social credit system by convenience. So I have to find a few documents to open a bank account or get my child into school. I'm fine with that over the option of where it leads. In fact, there are 4 principal risks that you should care about. 1, concentration of data. A unified digital ID system often requires linking multiple data sources, and that centralisation magnifies damage in case of a breach and expands what the state can see about you. Critics reasonably fear mission creep, identity used for more and more checks. 2, coercive default. Making the digital route cheaper, faster, smoother creates pressure to adopt, especially for vulnerable groups who can't afford delays. That's functionally coercive. 3, not everybody has a smartphone, stable internet or digital literacy to use an app reliably, and that often maps onto income, age and geography groups. Those left out are effectively denied access, and a 2-tier society truly evolves. And number 4, opaque governance. Big ID systems need clear rules about who can and can't access data, for what purpose and how is it audited. Vague safeguards are a red flag, and they've proven here and around the world that governments are truly useless at protecting data. So, are incentives always bad? Not necessarily. Companies use incentives to garner loyalty all of the time. The ethical line is crossed when those incentives are attached to rights, when the non-digital option becomes impractical. If somebody has to jump through hoops, pay more, wait longer for a service they are entitled to, but because they opted out of the digital system, they have to do all of those things, that incentive is nothing more than coercion. If you care about this, and veterans themselves, we should be up there front and centre in the conversations that we all need to have, and we need to push back hard. My gut position is just say no, guys. I was going to outline conditions about the introduction of this if they decide to do it, but no, I'm not prepared to accept any centralised digital ID at the end. Mark my words, guys, politically this is contentious. There are big petitions, vocal MPs on either side, industry voices arguing for efficiencies, civil liberties groups raising privacy alarms. Some politicians want mandatory checks for work and benefits, while others can see the danger, the clever ones. Expect this to be a battleground in the next election cycle, and if you care about civil liberties, pay attention, make your voice heard. Support veterans getting better access to rightfully earned services by all means. But don't let convenience trump rights, please don't. Demand parity for non-digital routes for those who are just not going to accept it or can't. Demand a digital bill of rights, and the Together Declaration are working on this, so pop to their website to sign up, talk about it, share it in your communities with your MPs and with the organisations that serve veterans every day. Remember, veterans are what this underhand and darkly controlling government see as an easy entry point into digital ID for all of us. Protect our veterans. Don't let them use them to get you onto digital ID, because that is their plan. And I suspect anyone who thinks this is fine, who uses the phrase, oh, you know, they know everything about us already. You've already got a phone, a passport, you bank online. They just don't understand what's actually happening here. Remember too, it comes from the World Economic Forum, through the UN and the WHO. And if you let them have their way, they will own you too. It will be too late. Do your homework as I have. Look at the UN 230 agenda, the WHO pandemic treaty, the WEF digital ID targets. See that this is not just Starmer in the UK, it is a worldwide drive, and it all comes from these people, with Tony Blair nicely hitched on to make even more money than he already has. If this resonates with you, share my video please. Tag organisations that represent veterans, represent freedom of speech, anti-digital ID, and if you're in the UK, check your MP's position on digital ID. I've already written to mine. This will be one of the biggest fights we have collectively undertaken, but I'm all in. Are you? Thanks for sticking with me, guys. This is the kind of issue where small decisions now shape how we live for decades. See you next time, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video.